Hey everybody, how's it going? The old setup is gone and the new setup for my consoles is here. You've seen the video on my old one of the big rack with the giant TV in the middle. That has all changed to TV up top, both my monitors, speaker. My desk is an absolute disaster right now, but this is my current setup of everything. Well, what we have across the top is Famicom, PS4, PS1, PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis, the Wii U, and the Wii, and then down to the TurboGrafx or PC Engine. TurboGrafx in the US, PC Engine, Japanese version, that is the PC Engine. We have the GameCube, my Nintendo 64, the Super Famicom, solely because it was smaller. Same thing with the PC Engine. That way I can get more across this shelf. And my original Nintendo, my Atari 1600, the Jaguar, the Neo Geo, the Neo Geo CD, and down on the bottom was my Switch dock with the game selector that you guys saw in another video. Wiring down here is still a little bit of a mess. Need to clean that up. But it's still the same 8-port analog switch going into the retro scaler, and then down on the bottom is a 16-port HDMI switch for all the other consoles that are HDMI or have been converted over to HDMI. If you notice on all of these, things like wireless controller sports, wireless controller, and then all of the wired controllers. I went with this wire rack just so I could tie everything to it. All of the cables kind of tied neatly down the back, sort of, except for right here. I had to pull this out. The whole thing is actually on wheels, so if I have to work on something, I can pull this out and do that. But for all the non-wireless, well, consoles that I don't have wireless controllers for, like the PS2 and the PS1, see, everything is zip tied and runs along all of these channels. When you get to those channels, you come over to this side. I know you all have seen these signs before. I just have it on the end to kind of cover up the end and make it look nice, but there is one single power plug for this whole thing, and my desktop's on there. Literally, I have to pull pretty much video cables off of that, unplug this from the wall. I could pull this whole rack out and it is ready to be moved. Everything is attached down and ready to go. But what we have on the ends, at the end of every single one of these runs, are extensions. So PS1 player 1, PS2 player 2, PS1 player 2, PS2 player 2. Yes, I have a wireless adapter in that, but there's a couple wired controllers that I like to use that are better. Go down to the next shelf where the Xbox was at. There's all your Xbox controllers. That's the only one that's on there. You have the Sega Genesis, the other Sega Genesis, and your Dreamcast player 2 and player 1. Down below, even more, and into the Super Nintendo, Nintendo GameCube. Now, this one it says player 1, but it's actually in the player 3 slot. The Nintendo GameCube 64. Then all the way down on the bottom is where it gets really interesting, because you have the 7600, the Neo Geo AES. I have the extension cables for those, both player 1 and player 2. The Atari Jaguar, which, believe it or not, these are just your standard DB15 cables coming across, or monitor extensions. Again with the AES, and then the Neo Geo CD, I have 2 for those as well. So everything, all my wired controllers are down on the end. I don't have to touch any of the consoles except for to turn them on, and if I ever need to swap one out, do some work on them or whatnot, all of the cables are attached and tied down, so it comes out easy. It's all on the selector switch. Goes into my capture card, that's down there too, runs into the back. I have a splitter down on the bottom, so one signal goes up to the TV, because everything is converted to HDMI in the end, but one goes to the TV, other one goes to the capture card. But that is my current gaming setup. I know it's not super clean, nice, and neat, but it works. Everything is accessible and sits right next to my desk, which, like I said, is a little bit of a disaster right now. I still need to get my sensor bar back up. I broke the cable on the old one. I have a wired one, but the batteries keep dying in it, so I'm trying to find a wired one that I can actually power off of the USB off of the back of the TV. That TV audio in it is freaking terrible. So most of the time I play with my headphones, which are down on that mount right there. And that little console, that right there, and that right there. Don't look at that. We got videos coming soon of those. But headphones hang down on the bottom, or I actually just use this speaker bar that's right there because it sounds way better than that. And all that is a really cheap USB powered speaker bar, and it gets powered off of the TV when the TV's on, and the audio of that is 10 times better. Anyways, that's the new console setup. I know not as fancy and cool as the other one that was way in the back, but this one works out a little bit better in the space that I'm living in right now. And honestly, if I ever have to move, all I have to do is take all the consoles off of this, pack them up nice and neat. Same thing with my computer. I can leave all of the cables in place and just wheel this rack into the back of the truck and go. Anyways, that's the new setup. Thanks for stopping in. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one.